It's the birthplace of hip-hop and home to some of its biggest stars. Now the Bronx is honoring hip-hop's pioneers at a time when some say the culture should be returning to its roots.
Don't push me, 'cause I'm close to the edge.
From the message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, describing the harsh conditions of the old burnt-out Bronx, to the hard-hitting lyrics of KRS-One.
That's the sound of the beast.
The overwhelming drive of mostly Black and Latino youth to make hip-hop music and create new moves and trends could not be stopped.
But I'm a product of hip-hop, and I represent a borough where it gave birth to this genre of music that's taking over the planet.
In 2017, hip-hop is a multi-billion-dollar global industry with a truly diverse international fan base, a long way from its start in the early 1970s at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. That's when DJ Kool Herc put the hip to the hop.
I immigrated from Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica, back in 1967. And we landed at 611 East 178th Street in the Bronx between Hughes and Arthur Avenue.
Okay.
We got burnt out. We got relocated to a brand new building, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. And we started to play music, graffiti in the rec room.
Herc will be honored on Hot 97's Global Hip Hop Day on June 8th, and the street will be renamed Hip Hop Boulevard.
Lottie, we like to party. We don't cause trouble. We don't bother nobody.
What hip-hop has also done is that it's been a tremendous bridge in the racial divide.
Another accomplishment, education. The Bronx is also the birthplace to hip-hop ed. Dr. Chris Emden uses hip-hop beats to boost students' science knowledge.
We literally just go into the classroom and we say, who can rhyme? And literally we'll have 95, 96% of the kids say, oh, I can rhyme. And then I might go and just spit a science ball. And they're like, what just happened?
The Bronx is also the home base for some of the hottest artists out now, like Remy Ma, French Montana, Swizz Beatz, and of course, Fat Joe.
All I want is for this generation of hip-hop artists and the hip-hop generation to take it to the next level.
So what are hip-hop's core values? Let's find out what our panel has to say. Chuck Creekmur, he's the founder and CEO of allhiphop.com and also a culture commentator. Chuck, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. Also with us is TT Torres, our Hot 97 music director and on-air personality. And she's also a multimedia personality and one of the organizers behind Global Hip Hop Day. TT, great to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me, Lisa.
Good to have you again. And also with us is the man that I called the hip hop assemblyman here on Hot 97 Street Soldiers when he first got started in politics, and the show was very in its early stages as well. Ruben Diaz Jr., the Bronx Borough President, longtime lover and supporter of hip hop. It's great to have you on.
It's good to be back, Lisa. Thank you.
Great to have you back. We really appreciate it. TT, tell us about this Global Hip Hop Day. Where'd you get the idea for?
So basically, Global Hip Hop Day is taking place on June 8th, and we're going to start with one day, 3 activities, and one being a big block party in the Bronx. The idea really came from, hip hop being created in the Bronx at 1520 Kool Herc's building on Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx. That's where hip hop was created. He invented the turntables. He DJ'd in the rec center. So we wanted to take it back to its essence. Obviously, hip hop has grown tremendously since 1973 when Kool Herc invented it. It's now global. So we just really wanted a day to celebrate hip hop. And of course, June is Black Music Month. And Black culture is so integrated into the hip hop culture. So we thought about, taking advantage of this month and bridging the gap with Black Music Month, and also creating Global Hip Hop Day and leading up to the biggest hip hop concert on the planet, which
Hot
is
97 Summer Jam, with Street Soldiers will be in the building. We're so excited about that. And summer is coming. People don't believe it with the weather, but summer really is coming, because Summer Jam is coming, and so is Global Hip Hop Day. Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz, when did you get involved with this idea of global hip hop, and why are you so behind it?
Well, first of all,
I know you love hip hop, but
I'm a student of hip hop. I'm a product of hip hop. Personally, professionally, I am the president where hip hop was born, and so I just want to thank TT and Hot 97 for coming to us with this idea. I also want to congratulate Councilwoman Vanessa Gibson for introducing the piece of legislation that changed Sedgwick Avenue to Hip Hop Boulevard. I think that it's genius to have a block party out there. I believe that when you then move the festivities to Cedar Park, remember outside in Cedar Park,
yes.
Power from the streetlight made the place dark. So this is I think taking it to the essence, but also showing the maturation of hip hop. Those of us who started off as young boys and girls who are now elected officials, we're doctors, we're lawyers, and it needs to be celebrated.
And that's
make a lot of people aware.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're celebrating it, because we are changing Sedgwick Avenue to Hip Hop Boulevard thanks to Vanessa and her hard work to pass that legislation.
To City Council Member Vanessa Gibson. Chuck Creekmore, when you look at this now, because there have been times, and you've been on those shows, when we've talked about how sometimes hip hop doesn't appreciate its own the way other music genres do, like rock, heavy metal. Right. They don't appreciate like the classics. What do you think of something like this?
No, I think it's awesome, and I think we have to tell our own stories, and we have to tell our own history and speak it and educate our youth on Kool Herc, Chuck Chill Out,
Red Alert, Marley Marl.
I mean, it just goes on and on. Today's DMC's birthday, shout out to him, and and really embrace our own greatness and let kids know that it's not uncool to know who you came from. And we need to embrace that and really uplift those people.
And when you guys, and everybody, please feel free to jump in, which I know you will. But in terms of the roots of hip hop and the foundation, to me, it's always represented. It's like the the energy, the ingenuity, and just like, listen, this is coming at a time too when the community was very forgotten, very neglected, wasn't even getting basic services.
People complain about the conditions today, and very few people remember or want to remember what we were like in the Bronx and throughout the city of New York back in the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s. Crime was at an all-time high. There was, I remember playing, and instead of having a bouncing gym, we used to have mattresses that we did flips on in rubble in abandoned lots. And to think about how young people, teenagers, instead of being so beaten, and not only mentally but spiritually and psychologically, what they did is that with pen and pads, with a beat, they created a genre of music. Last night, I was watching that new dance, world-class dance show with Jennifer Lopez. To see so many dance groups that from all over the planet that have been influenced by this music that was created in rubble in the Bronx, I think is something that everyone needs to celebrate. And I know that it morphs and it changes, and there's a debate on that. But we all need to pay homage to those pioneers, like Coca La Rock, like Herc, like Melly Mel, Grandmaster Caz, and so many others.
Yeah. And to speak on that, I had a conversation with Kool Herc in an interview, and he said that he didn't think about, when he decided to DJ and create hip hop, he wasn't thinking about it as a genre of music. He was just thinking about it as a way to pay for his sister Cindy's clothes so she can go back to school in September. That's why he created the block parties. The parties was just to get money. And so what happened was, the parties got bigger in Cedar Park and more people started falling in love with hip hop. But to him, it was just a hip to the hop. That's how he described it.
Right.
That's how he got the name. It wasn't even named anything. It was just a hip to the beat and a hop to the step. And that's how it was created, hip hop. And a lot of people don't even know that. And I think it's important to share those stories.
And I think also too, Chuck, when you look at where hip hop is and where it's come from too, it's like we talk a lot about the achievements now and the globalization, but when you understand how far behind, it wasn't even just those founding fathers and founding mothers, they weren't like even at sea level, they were like underwater, coming from way, way behind.
Absolutely. I mean, now it's just crazy. I just came from the Netherlands, hip hop festival called New School Rules over in Rotterdam, and it was just ridiculous how awesome it was to see how large hip hop has grown through the years. But you have to remember, Public Enemy's second album started off in London. They were letting us know back in the States that it's already global, and it's my hope that we continue to embrace the power of hip hop and to also financially benefit from it. You know, so many of our pioneers are either not as wealthy as they should be or just broke. You know what I'm saying? And also on the back end, current day, so many artists are not empowered to do the art that's their real truth. They do what's most likely to get them paid, and then therefore, we see the disconnect between reality and old school, new school, all types of generational gaps or intergenerational gaps too. So,
But
No,
just
'cause
think
there is that.
But you think about it, in 1973 when Kool Herc started DJing outside of 1520, remember, hip hop, there was no money to be made off of it. They didn't know
Right.
what it was, and the industry corporations,
Absolutely.
they thought it was just a fad. And remember, they didn't understand it. So, and they thought it, and they still, and some still don't. And they thought, oh,
I think they understand the money.
yeah, they
can
they understand the money for sure, but artists were talking about their true struggle, and that scared a lot of corporations. They weren't cutting those big checks like they're doing now. Who are these black Latino kids rapping about guns and drugs and, you know, different things that they were experiencing, but that scared corporations? Because again, like Ruben said, you know, they were just talking about things that they were going through. What do you mean you blame our generation? Hold on.
Because if look, I have a 13-year-old daughter. She knows what's up.
And as we've seen the country demographically change, as we've seen more multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural families,
Absolutely.
I think hip hop has given young people a way to identify through the music as opposed to what somebody looks like.
In this era of Black Lives Matter, it just, you know, it becomes difficult to digest that when Tamir Rice gets murdered and there's no outrage nationally. You know what I'm saying? So again, not to get too heavy with it, but just to
And that
say,
cop was just fired, by the way.
right, I heard about that. Yeah.
So I think when you look at the myriad of different issues that the hip hop generation is confronted with, whether it's police brutality, whether it's the lack of jobs, you name it, education, investment, or the lack thereof in our educational system, health. I think that I would love to see for hip hop as a culture to be more political, not just on wax or song, but also to raise a level of consciousness among the hip hop community, so that we can go out there, register to vote. And I know that inherently, you know, hip hop is based on being rebellious.
We did register to vote here. Hip hop votes here on Hot 97.
I love you guys, but I kind of disagree.
It's okay,
I feel
go
like
ahead.
hip hop has done a lot when it comes to political. Hip hop was the first black president in office.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't for hip hop, that probably wouldn't have happened, because a lot of hip hop got behind that. And I've seen hip hop.
But TT, real talk, you also had a majority of the white vote too.
Yeah, that too. But hip hop,
number-wise.
But hip hop got behind that. I feel like hip hop has been a voice for police brutality more so than any other genre of music. When you compare it to other genres of music, I feel like, you know, hip hop has done more culturally than any other genre.
I don't mean in terms of a voice.
Of the system?
In terms of voter turnout. I'm talking about in terms of putting local elected officials into office or taking them out, whether they're governors and mayors, men and women in the legislature. I think that when you look at legislation, that's what I mean by political.
That's a valid point. Not just when it's a celebrity issue, like Barack Obama was a celebrity.
Right.
Yes,
he was a celebrity, so that was like a celebrity type of thing.
I think that's more of an educational piece for artists as well, too, to understand.
But
what
isn't that
does
putting
mean.
too much burden on hip hop artists to say, yeah, you know, you have to entertain, do your career, which everybody knows in this room is a 24/7 kind of business that you have to be in on top of your game all the time, and then expect them to know enough about the issues? Because we've seen artists who've tried to speak out on certain things, Chuck, and then there's like the backlash on that.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. I mean, every artist doesn't have to speak. I was at a political event last night with a bunch of celebrities. Can't really talk too much about it, but we spoke about Jay-Z and how he kind of doesn't say a whole lot, but he supports where it needs to be supported. And so I don't think every artist has to be on the front lines, but I think there are artists we just don't support them enough in a commercial way, you know. So we have to remember that hip-hop is a business now. It's $1 billion business, and there's a community component that needs nurturing, that needs support, that needs political education even. So they need to understand why they should know about certain issues, and how do they vocalize that, or how do they support those issues?
Well, it's also understanding that, you know, you have a platform, and I always believe that your platform should be to inspire at some point, but also to never forget the people ultimately make you who you are. So I think if you never disconnect from the people, you're always going to be connected to the issues of the people.
I want to take issue with all three of you, which I don't usually do, about the current generation, the what people call the young generation, people that are in their teens and in their early 20s. I think they've grown up. A lot of them have come up without a lot of adult, without a lot of parental involvement in their lives, without a lot of guidance, out of areas where there wasn't educational opportunities. And I think they're doing a pretty amazing job. With what they have.
Look, on a personal note, I speak from a level of frustration because I understand and I see the full potential. And I don't believe that is being totally taken advantage of. So, for instance, look at Hamilton. Look what rap and hip hop did for Broadway.
Right.
Look what is done. If you use that as a tool in schools, I think that if you allow for the educational system to utilize hip hop as a form of educating, you're going to see the amount of scores go up.
We're already seeing that. We're already seeing that with Professor Christopher Emdin and Hip Hop Ed and the Science Genius program that just had a big celebration and battle in the Bronx, where the scores of the students are higher on the Regents because they're using hip hop to teach them.
And you can use it as financial literacy. You can use it in so many different ways to promote a particular issue, policy, self-consciousness. And so just remember, I'm an elected official, so I just see that more so than ever, the hip hop has the biggest audience ever. And so how do you use this tool? How do you use this
as a gateway? As a
gateway to transform attitudes, to transform images, to transform how people treat each other. And when I don't mean to attack the younger generation, I just think that they can take this to that next level, and I'm looking forward to it.
I just want to be really clear. I don't blame the younger generation. I actually blame our generation because those are our babies. A lot, those are.
What do you mean you blame our generation?
Because if look, I have a 13-year-old daughter. She knows what's up. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm saying is, if you're in your 30s or 40s, it's highly likely you have a child that's listening to whatever they're listening to. And if they don't know who, I don't know, Run DMC is or Wu-Tang or Tribe Called Quest, that's on you. I know my parents introduced me to Al Green and the Spinners, I don't know, whoever, you know what I'm saying? Hip hop too, obviously, because we were digging in the crates. But the point is as a person of a certain age, you have to be responsible for educating the youth. And if they come up not knowing who came before them or not appreciating it at least, that's on you. That's not on.
I agree.
What about that, TT?
My nephew is 17 years old, and before trap music became trap music, I heard trap music in my house because that's all he listened to before trap music became the it thing right now. And it was Chief Keef. It was all that. He's the originator of that. The mumble rap, whatever Flex calls it, the mumble rap. But like to your point, I do say, yo, fam, have you check out this Biggie?
Absolutely.
Check out this. Like I grew up, in my opinion, the 90s was the best, the golden era of rap.
Careful.
I'm sorry.
I think 2017, I think the 21st century is. I want to thank all of you for being here with us to talk about hip-hop, talk about how much hip-hop has changed and evolved and grown in Global Hip Hop Day on Thursday, June 8th in the Bronx. Thank you, Chuck Creekmore, TT Torres, Ruben Diaz Jr. I'm Lisa Evers. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. Let's push for peace.